VON Radio from the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis.
From the VON Newsline, this is the VON Major Newscast.
Good evening, I am Jarvis Bonnie with your VON Major News package for today, Friday, 7th December 2018. In our lead stories nationally, St. Kitts and Nevis' police force reactivates crime hotline and the free movement for agricultural workers, beauticians, barbers, security guards. Regionally, Buju Banton to be released from U.S. prison on December 8th. Internationally, Kevin Hart quits as host of Oscars 2019 amid twits row. And in sports, local football tournament to begin tomorrow, December 8th. We'll have the details to these and other stories after this message.
Another look.
Different from how you've seen it before.
Another look.
Takes an in-depth look into business, politics, science, technology, religion, and more.
Another look.
Featuring documentaries from the BBC, regional features, and local ones too.
Another look.
Every Monday at 3 p.m. on the Eastern Caribbean's powerhouse, VON.
Welcome back and now on to the national news in detail. The High Command of the Royal St. Christopher Nevis Police Force has reactivated the crime hotline 707 to make it easier for citizens and residents to share information with the police. To report crime and criminal or suspicious activity, persons can now call the crime hotline by dialing 707, but for emergencies or for immediate assistance, persons should still dial 911. Subsequent to the reactivation, Acting Commissioner of Police Mr. Hilroy Brandy said that the police was already receiving tremendous support from the public. He attributed the success of the police in several criminal matters to information received from concerned citizens and residents. A strict protocol for the hotline has been established, and Mr. Brandy is assuring the public that all information shared will be confidential. He explained and said only senior police officers are allowed to engage callers, and persons who use the hotline do not have to disclose their identity. Moreover, the phone is located in an area where only certain officers will have access to it. St. Kitts and Nevis and other Caribbean Community CARICOM member countries have agreed to add agricultural workers, security guards, barbers and beauticians to the list of persons eligible to move and work freely across the single market bloc. The agreement was struck at a December 3rd and 4th 2018 meeting held in Trinidad and Tobago. The already approved categories of persons entitled to work and live freely across the single market are university graduates with at least a bachelor's degree of equivalent qualifications such as ACCA qualifications parts 1 and 2, musicians, artists, sports persons, media workers, registered nurses, trained teachers, artisans who have obtained Caribbean Vocational Qualification CVQ associate degrees and equivalent university diplomas, technical institutes diplomas, and technician certificates parts 1 and 2 or CAT completed qualifications. They also reiterated that a skills certificate issued by one member state would be recognized by all member states. While the CARICOM leaders set a time frame of 3 years within which CARICOM states that are willing would move towards full free movement, no specific time frame was given for adding the new categories of workers. The Nevis Appropriation 2019 Ordinance 2018 bill was passed unanimously in the Nevis Island Assembly today, December 7th, after its third reading. The bill will seek to appropriate a sum of money for use of the public service of the island of Nevis for the financial year commencing on January 1st, 2019 and ends on December 31st, 2019. Prior to that, Premier and Minister of Finance, the Honorable Mark Brantley, presented his 2019 budget under the theme, harnessing the synergies of innovation and entrepreneurship while increasing global competitiveness to achieve our socio-economic goals. Additionally, lone member of the opposition, the Honorable Joseph Parry, debated the 2019 budget, questioned the manner in which the affairs of the island are being governed and the government's fiscal management, which he said has been surrendered to St. Kitts. The budget is to the tune of $269,952,200 EC dollars and is over the 2018 budget by almost $43 million. In more national news,
we have decided to restore and pay the annual December holiday pay to the government auxiliary employees or non-establishment workers on December 14th this year.
Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris. The Finance Minister made the announcement on Thursday, December 6th. He also provided a brief history regarding what happened as to why the payment ceased for government auxiliary employees GAEs and explained what the government has done so far to rectify the matter.
The annual holiday pay paid during the month of December had been stopped abruptly some years ago by the previous administration under pretext that the workers would become a part of the pensionable establishment. Unfortunately, this was never done for our non-establishment workers. Last year we said that we would correct this injustice inflicted on our non-establishment workers as we work to make them a part of the pensionable establishment. In this regard, my government has engaged a well-known actuary to advise us on this matter.
Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris. GAEs, formerly non-established workers, used to receive a payment called honorarium, which was paid at 2% of their accumulated salary per year and was stopped in 2008. Drivers of passenger buses and commuters will soon be operating out of a new bus terminal. This, as the East Line bus terminal, located on Wellington Road in St. Kitts, is set to officially open on Tuesday, December 11th. With a greater number of buses plying the eastern side of the island only going as far as Molyneux, buses will have a separate queue at the terminal, and the buses going as far as Parsons Ground will occupy the second queue. Reportedly, the terminal will be able to accommodate over 20 buses, a private vehicle drop-off area, as well as ancillary areas for shops and restaurants. Back in 2017, the government allocated $6 million to fund the construction of the facility. The Ministry of Education is pursuing plans to upgrade connectivity in public schools throughout St. Kitts so as to enhance the use of online tools in the classroom. Last week, the ministry finalized a contract with the cable to provide better internet access in schools. Tom Buchanan, Assistant Secretary in the Ministry of Education, shared that all public schools will benefit under this new plan. Broadband connectivity in primary schools will be upgraded from 6 megabytes per second download speed to 20 megabytes per second. At high schools and tertiary institutions, the broadband speed will be doubled from 20 megabytes per second download to 40 megabytes per second. The Ministry of Education will also see its broadband bandwidth move upwards from 20 megabytes per second download to 40 megabytes per second. The upgraded internet speeds will allow teachers to further integrate technology into the teaching and learning process. It will also facilitate the ministry's rollout of a new software program across schools that will help with data management and have login information for students and parents to access notices and homework assignments. The new speeds will be available in schools at the start of the new term in January 2019. And lastly, in our national news segment, working together to ensure no country is left behind. That's the theme for this year's International Aviation Day 2018, which is observed annually on December 7th. In observance of the day, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Aviation, the Honorable Mark Brantley, in an address said that the aviation industry has its challenges with global terrorism and insider threats which are on the global increase, where workers within the system choose to do things for their own personal gain and collusion among staff. He also said that although in St. Kitts and Nevis, our main economic engine is and continues to be tourism, We, the Aviation Ministry, still have the responsibility to protect and ensure that our international obligations are adhered to and are met effectively and consistently. There is no room whatsoever for error or mistake. The day was designed to help generate and reinforce worldwide awareness of the importance of international civil aviation to the social and economic development of states. And that's our national news segment. You can visit our website at www.vonradio.com, or you can check us out on Facebook at Von Radio and our Von Radio YouTube channel. Regional news comes up next.
That's right, it's that time of the year once again, where your bank, the Bank of Nevis Limited, is offering very low interest rate on brand new vehicles. But that's not all. We are offering a discounted bill of sale and your insurance payment will be covered. So visit us today or just dial 869-469-5564 and speak to our very experienced lenders. My bank, your bank, our bank. The Bank of Nevis Limited, improving the quality of life. Like us on Facebook.
If you wanna go and take a ride with me, we three willing in the four with the goldies. So why do I live this way? Must be the money.
Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back, and now on to the regional news. The release of incarcerated Mark Myrie, alias Buju Banton, is set for December 8th, and he will be put on a plane in Florida and flown to Kingston, to a nation that has been eagerly awaiting this moment. Jamaica's Culture Minister Olivia Babsy Grange said that the government isn't pulling out any stops. "We can't give him a hero's welcome," says Minister of National Security Horace Chang. Minister Grange said that although he committed a crime, Buju was loved long before he was convicted, and he will be loved just the same even if he comes home in handcuffs. Buju, a Grammy Award-winning entertainer, was convicted for drug trafficking on February 22, 2011 in Tampa, Florida. He was sentenced to 10 years imprisonment. A former owner of the Banco Paravia Bank in the Dominican Republic has been sentenced to 3 years in prison for his role in a US $1 billion money laundering scheme involving currency exchange. Gabriel Arturo Jimenez Ere, a 50-year-old Venezuelan citizen residing in Chicago, Illinois, and former owner of Banco Paravia, was sentenced by United States District Judge Robin Rosenberg last week in Florida, following his guilty plea on March 20th to one count of conspiracy to commit money laundering. Jimenez admitted that as part of the scheme, he conspired with Raul Gorin Belserio, 50, and others to acquire Banco Paravia, through which he helped launder bribe money and scheme proceeds. Jimenez and his co-conspirators used the bank to pay bribes to Venezuelan government officials in exchange for contracts to and bribe payments to foreign officials via bank cash disbursements, wire transfers, and other financial transactions. In most recent fallout from the so-called Panama Papers, 4 individuals have been charged in an indictment unsealed on Tuesday in the Southern District of New York with wire fraud, tax fraud, money laundering, and other offenses in connection with their alleged roles in a decades-long criminal scheme perpetrated by Mossack Fonseca and Company, a Panamanian-based global law firm, and related entities. Ramses Owens, 50, a Panamanian citizen, Dirk Bauer, 54, a German citizen, Richard Gaffey, 74, a U.S. citizen of Medfield, Massachusetts, and Harold Joachim von der Goltz, 81, and a German citizen, have been charged in an 11-count indictment. Owens, Gaffey, and von der Goltz are charged with 1 count of conspiracy to commit tax evasion, 1 count of wire fraud, and 1 count of money laundering conspiracy. 3 of the 4 defendants named in the indictment have been arrested. The charges in the indictment are mainly allegations, and the defendants are presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt in a court of law. And lastly, in our regional news segment, a team from Dominica was expected to meet with LIAT officials in Antigua on December 6th to discuss the improvement of air access to this country. Tourism Minister Senator Robert Tong said this was an indication of how the Ministry of Tourism and Discover Dominica Authority continue to work smart in advancing Dominica's air access. He said they were also working with Executive Manager of Caribbean Airlines, Simon Fabian, in an effort which he said is expected to bring some improvement to Dominica's tourism later this year. He encouraged Dominicans to keep the country clean and green to minimize garbage pollution. And that's our regional news segment. Stay with us for news around the world. Welcome back, and now on to the international news. U.S. comedian and actor Kevin Hart says he has stepped down from hosting the 2019 Oscars following a controversy over homophobic tweets. He said he did not want to be a distraction and that he was sorry he had hurt people. The choice of Hart for host was only announced on Tuesday. However, tweets from a decade ago emerged of anti-gay slurs, sparking calls for the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences to drop him. Kevin Hart had said the hosting of Oscars was a goal on my list for a long time. Comments Hart made during a comedy routine in 2010 have been put under the spotlight in recent days. In 2015, by which time his profile had risen significantly, Hart addressed the stand-up routine in question in an interview with Rolling Stone. Kendrick Lamar and Drake led this year's Grammy nominations with 8 and 7 respectively. The nominations for Lamar, who swept last year's ceremony, are for his work on the Black Panther soundtrack. Canadian rapper Drake is up for Song of the Year for God's Plan and Album of the Year for Scorpion. Dua Lipa and Georgia Smith are among the Brits on the nominations list, which was revealed in full earlier today. Ariana Grande receives 2 nominations, one for Best Pop Vocal Album Sweetener and Best Pop Solo Performance God is a Woman. One of the most notable snubs is for Taylor Swift, whose album Reputation received only 1 nod for Best Pop Vocal Album. President Donald Trump has nominated William Barr to be the new Attorney General, a post he held in the 1990s under President George H.W. Bush. By replacing Jeff Sessions, who was fired by Mr. Trump last month, the 68-year-old will take charge of the investigation into alleged Russian meddling in the 2016 U.S. election. U.S. media report he has been critical of some aspects of that inquiry. Mr. Trump also confirmed reports he is pushing for Heather Nauert to be the new U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. More in this report.
William Barr comes with some pedigree, as he's already served as U.S. Attorney General previously under George H.W. Bush in the early 90s. However, Democrats will have some concerns over his comments backing the dismissal of the FBI Director James Comey last year, and newspaper articles in which he suggested that the Clintons should have faced more investigation. As far as Heather Nauert goes, her background as a Fox News anchor and her assured performance as State Department spokeswoman have clearly drawn the President's attention. But there will be questions over her lack of direct diplomatic experience.
And Germany's ruling Christian Democrat Union has chosen Annegret Kramp-Karrenbauer as the new party leader, but Angela Merkel plans to serve out her term as Chancellor until 2021. As the head of Germany's largest party, Ms. Kramp-Karrenbauer could become the next German Chancellor. Here's more in this report.
Mrs. Merkel and Mrs. Kramp-Karrenbauer do get on well, they work together well, they have very similar politics and outlooks, but the challenge ahead of them is huge. They're fighting populism, they're fighting the fragmentation of the German political landscape, the European political landscape. The CDU was once one of Germany's big parties of the centre-right as opposed to the centre-left Social Democrats. They're losing votes to smaller movements like the far-right AfD. The Green Party is on the rise here. This party has a lot of work to do.
And that brings us to the end of our news segment. The latest in sports is next. Welcome back on All the Sports. In local sports, the Youth and Sports Department has taken the initiative to revive football. The department will be hosting a tournament open to the major teams on the island on Saturday, December 8th. The grand finals will be played on December 23rd. On Tuesday, December 4th, a draw was made to determine the two groups for the competing teams. The result of the draw is as follows. Group A had Times, Stony Grove Strikers, Youths of the Future, and Highlights International. Group B, Bath United, Cotton Ground Pioneers, Villa United, and 767 Boys. The first game is expected to commence tomorrow evening at 6 o'clock at the ETW Park. In football, Real Madrid thrashed 3rd Division Melilla 6-1 to record a 10-1 aggregate win and reach the Spanish group last 16. That's actually and reached the Spanish Cup last 16. Marco Asensio's double and Javi Sanchez's debut goal earned a 3-0 half-time lead at the Bernabeu. Isco Vinicius Jr. added 2 more before Melilla, a tiny Spanish autonomous enclave in North Africa, scored through striker Yesen Kwasmi's 81st minute penalty. Spain midfielder Isco got his second goal of the game to complete the rout. Although Madrid boss Santiago Solari made 10 changes to the team that beat Valencia 2-0 in La Liga on Saturday, he still named 4 Spain internationals and 3-time Champions League winning goalkeeper Keylor Navas. The first leg on October 31st was Solari's first match in charge. In basketball, Buddy Hield scored 20 points, the Aaron Fox had 16 points and 7 assists, and the Sacramento Kings coasted to a 122-105 win over the Phoenix Suns on Tuesday night. Rookie DeAnthony Melton led Phoenix with a career-high 21 points. Trevor Ariza and Josh Jackson scored 14 each for the Suns, who fell behind 36-9 after the first quarter. Phoenix has lost 6 straight and 9 of 10. Playing without leading scorer Devin Booker, who has missed 2 of the last 3 games, and forward TJ Warren out for the 3rd straight game with right ankle soreness, the Suns couldn't overcome 3 for 17 shooting in the first 12 minutes. And lastly, in our sports segment, in cricket, Neither Ben Stokes nor Alex Hales will miss any further England matches as a result of their part in a fight outside a Bristol nightclub in September 2017. Both men faced England and Wales Cricket Board charges over that incident and social media posts, but the subsequent bans were adjudged to be either suspended or already served. Stokes, who was cleared of a fray in August, has been fined a total of £30,000 and batsman Hales £17,500, £10,000 of which is suspended for 12 months from now. Hales did not face criminal charges and their case was ruled on by the Cricket Disciplinary Commission, which is independent from the ECB. And that's it for sports. The weather is next. Welcome back. The weather tonight will continue to be partly cloudy, with a few cloudy periods and a 40% or moderate chance of showers. The weather tomorrow will be partly cloudy, with a 20% or a slight chance of showers. The winds are east at 19 to 30 kilometers per hour or 10 to 16 knots. The sea's heights are from 1.5 to 1.8 meters or 5 to 6 feet. Small craft operators and seabathers should exercise caution. The sunrise tomorrow will be at 6:28 a.m. And that's how we wrap up the major news package for today, Friday, 7th December 2018. Before we go, let's take a look at the headlines once again. Nationally, St. Kitts and Nevis' police force reactivates crime hotline and free movement for agricultural workers, beauticians, barbers, security guards. Regionally, Buju Banton to be released from U.S. prison on December 8th. Internationally, Kevin Hart quits as host of Oscars 2019 amid tweets row. And in sports, local football tournament to begin tomorrow, December 8th. On behalf of the rest of the news team, I am Jarvis Brown wishing you a great weekend.